like I used to. And I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man, better look somewhere else. Yeah, I can stand to lose a few pounds, but for right now, I'm working on my dad bod. Oh my God, ain't gotta be hungry to eat. Hot dog, it's a full-time job, living good when you're with me. I like a cold beer with my pizza. I like my tacos and tequila. You only live once, so I do what I want, and I want to keep working hard on my dad bod. Girl, what you need, I got it.
And it's bacon time, everybody. Welcome everybody to the Dads with Bacon channel. We've got our main man Troy here on the ones and twos from the New York City Buffalo area, and we got Big Tex.
No.
Pennsylvania.
Yes, there you go.
My apologies, Pennsylvania.
The 717.
TJ from the East Coast, living it out there in the heat wave. How you guys staying cool out there?
Yeah, I mean tomorrow I think it's supposed to be the worst, right, TJ?
Yeah, tomorrow's supposed to be the worst. Luckily, I don't know if you guys saw in our private chat, I had football practice today, and man, I tell you what, some of those kids did not know what heat's all about.
Yeah, that's rough when you start getting. I mean, what were they, just helmets or was it full pads?
Yeah, it's just helmets today. Because we didn't want to do the full pad with the heat index. We started practice at 6:30, and the heat index was at 101.
Wow. Yeah, that's up there, man. Whew. So. Yeah, I mean it's been hot. You know, it's like one of the worst weeks. We have our local area fair this weekend here too, so it's probably not dragging so many people out there. They're probably wanting to stay in and stay out of the heat. So.
Is it the York County Fair?
No, it's not the York Fair. It's the Lebanon area fair. So.
Yeah,
this week.
We're planning on coming up for York.
Yeah,
York's a good one. That's a good one.
Indiana State Fair actually just started a few days ago, and again, when you're at the fair, that hot food and that, I mean, it's like, ugh, you can't do that kind of heat, you know. And
do your state fairs have a lot of the smelly farm animals too, or?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
They always smell really good in the heat too, you know.
Yeah, man. Last year that there was like a state record, like 1,300 something pound hog.
Wow.
That thing was massive. I've never seen that. Was the fattest pig. I can't. Okay. So like for me to like put my arms around like this would be no exaggeration as to just how gigantic that freaking bacon was, dude. It was so huge.
I'm gonna ask for my wife. Can she cuddle that thing? Because she wants to cuddle a pig.
Hey, before we start getting into the meat of the show here, I do want to throw a shout out there to Jeremy Rowe for letting us use Dad Bod song, so we were able to implement into the beginning here tonight. We're still kind of working out the kinks there and getting that molded in there the way it can be a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Professional.
Yes. So no hiccups and stuff in there, but we wanted to get it in there tonight, and we did. And let's see, where are we starting off here tonight, Brad?
All right, so what we're getting into tonight first is Women's World Cup action.
Where's Marco? South. Where's Ben?
No kidding. Two guys that are huge into Women's World Cup or World Cup soccer period. And one thing to keep in mind is that they're down south. It's winter in Australia, New Zealand. So it was actually kind of awkward watching the game last night, seeing fans in parkas and winter hats and even the players that were in like really thicker long sleeve shirts that they're typically not used to playing in. But I think the American women had a huge test last night against the Netherlands, and
sure did.
The Dutch women, they had a great game plan for the Americans. And Troy, I'd like to hear what you think about that. Did you catch any of the game last night?
I didn't. I read up on it, and I saw some of the highlights and stuff. But from everything I've read, from the experts that followed a lot more closely than I do, it seems like the United States is really having a bad problem getting the attack going, which was really weird because was that Vietnam they played the first game? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they were all over Vietnam. I mean, I don't even think Vietnam had a shot on goal, or maybe if they did, it was late in the game. So I don't know what changed from that first game to this game. Maybe Netherlands is just that much better than Vietnam. I mean, where's Ben at with our odds at? Because Vietnam might be at 250,000 to 1, whereas Netherlands are probably like a 50 to 1. So
Yeah, last night in the match, if you're kind of going tick for tack on statistics, you look at it, there are 13 fouls by the U.S., 15 by Netherlands, 1 yellow by the U.S., 11 corner kicks to Netherlands, 1 corner kick. I mean, talk about a huge advantage.
yeah,
Not to mention that Netherlands had 2 saves. So that means that I think in the second half, really, the U.S. women were able to really get on a roll. They actually had an opportunity to get in and take the lead, but um, it was. Let me see. It was. Trying to think of who is man, who's who's the longtime standing chick that's been on the U.S. team for a long.
Megan Raponi.
Not Megan Rapinoe, no.
Rapinoe. Alex Morgan.
Alex Morgan, thank you.
Mhm.
She was a half step offsides when she caught a pass and hit one in the top corner, and the referee called the offside. A lot of
Yeah.
people were kind of like, but again, she was clearly off.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
TJ, you've been watching any Women's World Cup at all?
So I haven't been able to see it live, but I have caught like the some of the replays, and some of the guys at work, we always talk about it, just because I feel like that's the only soccer that, we as Americans we really talk about, because the men haven't really done much, in the past few years, and the women have kind of taken it up a notch. So haven't really caught any matches live. I think there is one that's going to be streamed on Peacock this weekend, which I think is a USA one. So I may watch that one this weekend. But I mean, watching the highlights of last night's game, it looked a little rough. I mean, I feel like, we've in the, like you said, the second half, the women got their feet underneath them, but I don't know. Like, I wonder if this year is that year where, we kind of stumble and fall from a pedestal, because we've been, kind of stout the past couple World Cups, and now it's like, all right, all these nations know what the U.S. have, who we have on there. It's not like we're, I think there's a few new girls on the team, but it's about the same roster as every other year they've played. I'm wondering if the other nations are like, okay, this is what this girl does, so we can lock them down now.
Mhm.
So this may be the year where we get stunned, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but if we don't, it's USA, for Christ's sake. I mean, we come out of nowhere and win stuff.
I think I didn't watch the first half. Actually fell in when they were doing an analysis in halftime about the first half, and when it came to a lot of um, the attacking, as I think I agree with you. The offensive attack for the U.S. was really sloppy. They were
Mhm.
just trying to kind of bite off more than they could chew, rather than playing team ball,
Yep.
and it came to bite him in the butt. In the beginning of the second half, it got pretty chippy. There were a few instances where oh, what is her name? Lindsay Horan.
Yep.
Lindsay Horan is not a small woman.
No.
She's about 170 pounds, and she's going to be coming down. And there was a Netherlands player who kind of sideswiped her knee and then poof, buckled her in, and so not only does she go down for a few minutes, she gets up wanting to get in her face, basically like start something. And after that was all said and done, so they gave him the free kick, which went out for a corner, and on that next corner, she got the header in order to equalize that game.
Right.
It was a huge goal.
Yeah,
Um,
and didn't she kind of like flaunt it to the person that like buckled her knee? She like looked at her and said, "Yeah, come at me again, see what happens."
yeah, and it was one of those. I think a pretty big moment. These women are going to go on and um, do what everybody thinks in the world what they should do. I think that's a turning point for this team. Is that you get knocked down, you're playing a little banged up, and you go in there, you get a pressure equalizer goal in order to keep your World Cup hopes alive. So,
Yep. Yeah, I mean that could be, they didn't lose. I mean, obviously they went to a draw there, but I mean maybe something like that's just the wake up call they needed, So let's see. They have a few days off now until they come back. I don't think TJ. I don't think they play again until Monday or Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's what I was looking at. I know there is a game on Peacock. It may be like a different group that's playing, but Peacock is streaming a few of the Women's World Cup games here and there. So maybe it's a different one, but I do know they do have a USA one coming up here soon on Peacock.
Yeah, so I mean I don't know. We'll see. I mean sometimes this is something the juggernauts need. They need a wake up call like that. Maybe this was theirs.
Concurred, because there's a couple good teams that are in Group C that are already moving on. Spain and Japan, they're both 2-0. The other remaining teams, Costa Rica and Zambia, are 0-2. So it is impossible, no matter what the outcome is, for them to gain enough points in order to move on. Spain is also one of the favorites. The Spanish women are always good. In addition to Canada, Canada's got a pretty decent team. And Germany's been super impressive.
Yes.
Brazil had actually played a really, really good game against Panama. Again, I know it's Panama, and they're a slightly underwhelming team, but at the same time, a 4-0 win versus a World Cup team is a solid win. There's no ifs, ands, buts about that. All right. So next, moving on, let's get into our meat and potatoes. Today is the AFC South. We are going to preview what we believe our outcomes are going to come about this year. So, in the AFC South, we got 4 teams. We've got the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tennessee Titans. All of these teams, you could argue. Would you guys argue that this maybe be the worst division in the league? TJ, what do you think, man?
Yeah, it's the toilet bowl league. I mean, I feel like this is the semi-pro of the NFL, because a lot of those guys, there are some good names that are in this league, but I feel like this is the true toilet bowl league and division of the NFL.
So, would you say, Troy, that that the AFC South may be on par with like the NFC South?
I would say so. That's the other one I was going to pull out was the NFC South. I think that's the other one. I think they're going to be a little bit more competitive. When I say that I mean the NFC South. The AFC South just seems like right now they're almost all in a rebuilding mode except for Jacksonville. Jacksonville just went through that rebuilding mode, so they're coming out of that rebuild mode right in time when these other teams are starting to go back into rebuild mode. And I think, I don't know that Jacksonville is a great team, but I think they're falling perfectly in that division with their rebuild right now because they're ahead of everybody else, so they're going to be better than them. So.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that really, like, living here in Indianapolis, the Colts, even though they will not publicly say it nor admit it, but they're definitely in a rebuild mode in some facets. They've got some pieces in place with their O-line's pretty good. They've got a starting running back, a couple of mid receivers. I really wouldn't put any of their receivers as a number one on any other team.
Who's gonna be the number one role this year for them? Is it gonna be Pittman?
Yeah, it's Michael Pittman again, and that's, I mean, who else you throw into? I look at just kind of scoping over their roster at the wide receiver position. I mean, there are people that, Brashad Perriman, you know him just because he's been around the league on a handful of teams, and he's had an underwhelming career. Other than that, man, there's nobody of any. Like, I see names like Isaiah McKenzie, Alec Pierce, Vincent Smith, Malik Turner. I'm like, who are these dudes? It's
right.
I think of Major League, those guys in the parking lot reading newspaper. Who are these guys?
Well, you have an interesting connection here, Brad, because your wife is a Colts fan. Is that right? Or
that's correct. Yeah,
okay.
That's why I got all that garbage in the back.
Yeah. So you have the Colts in your family, but you also have the Bears, and the Bears are picked up, obviously, Matt Eberflus from the Colts.
Correct.
And it really seems like Maybe.
I think their defense.
Maybe that defense wasn't as good as we think they were in Indianapolis, because look what they did last year when Eberflus left.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I also think that they had some key injuries on defense.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're missing on Taekwon Lewis, Al Qadim Muhammad. Again, those are good rotational players for the Colts that are going to be guys that take up space and going to give guys breather. That when you lose them, I mean, DeForest Buckner's great,
Mhm.
but the thing is that if he's on the field for 10, 15 more snaps, I mean, I'm sorry, TJ, bro, that
Does he
the
lose
10,
some of that pop? Yeah,
yeah, what's 10 to 15 more snaps on a game?
on a big guy. Yeah.
It sucks. I mean, it'll wind you pretty fast. You're going to wish that there was a McDonald's on the sideline.
Yeah, and not to mention Shaq Leonard being in and out of the lineup with his injury last year, and like he played some, but coming back from the injury wasn't all that great. Um, Honestly, I think the Colts may be the bottom dwellers this year. I just got this stinky feeling that the Texans are going to do well enough with CJ Stroud. They've got a little bit of offensive help. Their defense is actually very underrated. So I think the Texans will end up being third in the division. Titans, I think Titans are on the brink of being that third place team.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's getting old. He still plays. I can't argue with that. He's still getting a lot of yards, but Ryan Tannehill, nah. I mean, he's fallen off a little
Yeah.
bit.
We've seen the best of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this division is Jacksonville, 100%. I think Jacksonville goes I think they go up to 11 wins this year, go 11-6.
Yeah, and like I said, and I don't know that necessarily it's because they're a great team, which I do. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team by any means, but I think they're a good team. But I don't think in a normal year, if you had a very competitive division here, I wouldn't be hard pressed to see the winner of this division being at 9 or 10 wins. This year, I agree with you. I think you could see Jacksonville get up to 11 or 12 just because of the competition in their own division.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like TJ with if you're playing the Colts twice, the Texans twice,
Yep.
you honestly, do you think 3 out of 4 from those 4 games is unreasonable?
No.
No, not at all. I feel like the biggest thing too, it's something I think it was either Marco said it or Ben said it. I can't remember. But when you go through the division, you play the teams twice. So it's always, the first game of the year, the first game that you play against somebody in your division, you're like, okay, what do you have this season? Because we've seen you play, let's say, 2 other out of division teams. All right, this team has a great defense, this team has a great offense. Then you come to like the divisional rounds and you play a team twice. I honestly feel like this season, the AFC South is going to be that division where everybody's going to look and be like, okay, who's truly going to come out here with some solidified good, divisional wins? And, looking at, and that's what I've been looking at on my phone is looking at this projected started rosters for everybody. So for Houston, they have CJ Stroud, Damian Pierce, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and Tank Dell. Those are like your offensive, minded guys. And then you look at their O line and their tight end. Dalton Schultz, he had a fairly productive year last year with Dallas. I mean, I'm a little upset he left, but we'll see what happens. Laramie Tunsil, I mean, that dude's older than a box of rocks, but he can still block. I mean, and I'm kind of happy that he's on a team they're rebuilding, but we'll see if he can protect CJ Stroud. You got Kenyon Green. He's a great guard. He's also switched multiple times. He was a tackle last year, and they solidified him as a guard. My favorite name in the NFL, Juice Scruggs.
Juice
That man,
Scruggs.
I am. You know what? I don't even care. I'm not a Houston Texans fan. I'm so buying that jersey and putting Juice Scruggs on the back.
Juice.
Shaq Mason, he's starting to finally fill in his shoes as a solid O lineman. And Titus Howard, that O line, they finally gelled and they've been throwing guys together. But I think the big thing is, everybody's talking about the Texans. D'Amico Ryan's coming in. He's the new head coach. He was the man in Houston. Like that was Houston's bread and butter was D'Amico Ryan's, and how tenacious he was. I don't think they can get over Jacksonville. I think I think Jacksonville's going to take this division. I'm not going to give them 11 wins. I'll give them 9 wins.
Mm.
The Texans?
No, the Jaguars.
Okay.
Oh, the Texans get 2 wins.
2
wins. I don't think this is the first year coach is going to be a little shaky. Yes, he was a defensive coordinator, but I feel like you step into the role of a head coach. Now you're looking at the whole team, not just a solid group of 11 guys or however many are on that side of the field.
How many did they win last year? Because I think their roster is a lot better than it was last year.
I don't even know. I think they won like 6 or 7.
Probably
last
like
year.
3 or 4 at least, right?
Well, let's take a look. Last year, the Houston Texans won 3-13-1.
Yeah.
The Colts were 4-12-1, so they were one game.
Yeah, they tied the first game of the season. Wasn't that what it was?
I mean, but think about this though. I honestly, I think I think easily the Colts and Texans swap, man. I mean, when you add Will Anderson, I mean that's immediately you gain pass rushing ability. I don't care if you're a rookie. If you're that good, you're gonna cause and be a problem. You still got Jerry Hughes chilling out there, old man Jerry Hughes. That dude's been playing for a hot minute. Christian Kirksey, who played over, I think, was it Carolina or no, Arizona. They got him in the middle, and I think that the offensive upgrades with Stroud, there'll be some growing pains, but
see, but here's my question, and I guess this is more, it's weird I ask this because I'm a defensive-minded coach, and this is all my bread and butter. But do you truly think Will Anderson is going to show out his rookie year?
Like, show out? I don't know about show out, but I think I definitely think he'll be a difference maker. Yeah.
You think he'll be a productive guy down there? I mean, like I said, D'Amico Ryans, his defense is he's always got a solid defense no matter where he's been. And that's a guy that I would love to play under.
When you're an elite pass rusher in the SEC, I think that's a pretty good barometer as to whether somebody's going to be, effective at the next level. Now again, we all know that anybody could be a bust. Anybody could be the next DeMarcus Russell, but
Jesus.
there's
Marcus
a name.
Russell. Haven't heard that name in years.
But at the same time, again, when you're playing against big, beefy, I'm going to the NFL offensive linemen, and you're that good, I think that's you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know. I disagree with you mostly, TJ. I kind of am the same wavelength with Brad here. I almost want to put the Texans above Tennessee, but the one thing that keeps holding me back from doing it is variable, and that's really the only thing, is the coaching piece of this. I think the Texans could be fighting for 7 to 8 wins, and I think the Titans are going to be right there as well. I just give that edge to coaching, and I think that's why the Titans will finish ahead of them a little bit. So because of that, I'll probably say the Titans are probably about 7 wins. I'll say the Texans are probably around 5 to 6 wins. And I think the Colts are going to be fighting for that number 1 spot again. I really do. They'll probably be looking for some sort of defensive help. I don't know if there's a big edge rusher coming out or something. That's probably what they'll be looking for. But I can see the Colts probably 3 wins.
Dude, if can you imagine if they end up doing like what the Bears did if they end up with the number 1 pick? I don't need a quarterback. Guess what? Caleb Williams is about the most guaranteed guy since Andrew Luck. So
isn't that what they say? They say they have one of those guys every year, but it doesn't seem to be that way, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think like when you're hearing about a guy anywhere from like a year to a year and a half before he's even eligible to come out of college, that I think those guys kind of tend to have I mean, that was the case with the Andrew Luck, but again, it's not everybody.
I'm trying to remember back to last season. It seems so long ago at this point, but didn't Williams end with the injury? Isn't he coming off an injury?
Yes. Yeah, because
he had knee injury last year.
Yeah. So you got to wonder if that might affect him a little. You don't know.
All right, so if we say wins, total wins for the Colts, TJ, how many?
I'm gonna say I'll go solid 10.
What? The Colts.
Okay, Troy.
3.
I'm gonna go 4. I think 4 is gonna be the magic number. I think are just not gonna be that good. Texans, Troy.
I'm gonna go 6.
Big Tex. 3.
Solid 3.
All right, a little flip flop, and I'm gonna. Oh man, Vegas has them at 6.5, and I'm like, I think I would go. I'm gonna go the under. I think I'm gonna go 6.
Yeah. That's tough because I have them right at. And I didn't even know the Vegas odds before we looked at this, but I was thinking 6 or 7 wins. So it's funny that that's where they have them too. So.
How about the Titans, TJ?
I think they probably, I say 5. 5 solid wins.
Vegas has the over under at 7.5.
That's funny. I'm just going to go right under again because I'm going to say 7. So
I think I gotta. Man, if
feels funny to say that with the Vrabel team, right? But
it does,
they are losing talent left and right on that team, though. They really are.
yeah.
Didn't they just pick up D-Hop, though?
Yeah, they just
come
got
on,
D-Hop.
no.
but,
Who's
I
going to throw it to him?
The old man in the backfield. That's who.
I'm gonna go under as well. I'm gonna go 7 and just total line at 7.5. And how about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Troy, go ahead and what you got?
I'm going to say 11.
11. Vegas line is 9.5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'd definitely take that over.
Taking over.
I think yeah. I mean, I could see them winning 5 of their division games right there. You know.
TJ, what you got?
I got 12 for them. They're going to win that division, and I feel like this is a year that Trevor Lawrence truly, shows off what he's about. His college career was great, but I feel like this is where he's going to come out, and this season he's going to show what he's truly about and why he won.
I'm going to also go over because what we've got here is I see the Colts on the schedule twice.
Mm-hmm.
I see the Texans on the schedule twice.
There's 4 wins.
There's okay, yeah. Okay, let's be generous. Say 3.
Okay.
Okay. So Chiefs, I say no. Bills, I say no. Falcons, I'll say
they got
yes.
the NFC South.
Yep, I'll say Falcons, yes.
They're going to get 3 or 4 from the South probably.
Yeah, Saints, no. They play the Browns at Cleveland.
That'll be a good game.
They got the Buccaneers. That's another one. So I mean, right? Honestly, yeah, I think they're gonna hit that mark pretty easy.
I mean, they can beat the Ravens. Honestly, I can see them beating the Ravens. They can beat the Steelers. Yeah, I don't know. They got the Bills, Chiefs, Bengals. It's got to be their 3 toughest games, right?
Well, if
Dolphins are in. No, that's preseason. Never mind. Oh, and they have the Niners too. I see the Niners. So I mean, I would say they can hang in with those games, but I would more than likely probably put them on the loss of those 4.
So who do we think in this division that is one of the key components as to how successful their team is going to be or not going to be? Like, for example, in my opinion, I think the Titans are going to live and die by Derrick Henry. Period. They can have Tannehill back there. Again, he's serviceable right now at this point of his career. But but at the same time, that without Derrick Henry, if you take Derrick Henry out of that lineup, I think that team could be even worse. I think it'd be like a 5-win team.
This might be the year. With that being said, Brad, this might be the year where you finally start to see a Henry decline a little bit because they are probably going to lean on him more than they ever have before. And was that 2 or 3 years ago when he was out? He missed about 6 games or something like that. And they had that running back by committee going on. I think they had like Dante Foreman and somebody else in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see the wear and tear catch up with Henry this year. And that could be another reason why they stay under that 500 mark. Yeah, that's a good point, Brad. They probably are going to ride on him a little bit more, and I can see that catching up to Henry.
All right. So we've also, in the midst of all this NFL stuff lately, we've been hearing about a lot of players, complaining about their contracts, wanting to, running backs are undervalued and they're not being paid their worth. And it seems like Some of the running backs are publicly coming out saying we've kind of had enough of that. So, um, TJ, you're the big man up front and leading the way for these guys. Do they have a point? Do you agree, disagree? I'd be interested to hear just from because you're the one paving the way. So you've worked with them all day long.
So this is where, and it's funny. We were a couple of the coaches and I before I left practice today. We were talking about this today. How all these guys that have not signed a good deal, like the running backs who have not signed deals, how they're just they're complaining about money, everything like that. Yes, everything starts up front with the big boys. Without the big boys, they ain't going nowhere. But this is where people do not realize something. The boys can pave a way. They can give you a highway. They can give you easy pass. You can take the whole way to the end zone. It's if the running back is smart enough to hit the hole. And I can tell you right now, there are a lot of running backs that are not that smart. They feed off of contact instead of getting that open yardage. I feel like the running backs who are asking for this money had their, they had their, I don't even want to call it prime yet because a lot of them are still young, but they've had their big games where, yeah, they could break it outside. They can, take it 90 some yards for a touchdown. I feel like if you're going to pay somebody big money, it is not going to be a running back. Running back, yes, he's, it is essential to a team, but is it truly essential? Because they also have to block for your quarterback, off of a pressure. They have to, if nothing, if a run doesn't happen or if a pass is kind of shut down on the deep end, they've got the short routes. I feel like, yes, quarterbacks are prima donnas. Your biggest prima donna is going to be your running backs. They ask for all this money, but if they can't do what is asked for them, you ain't getting paid. If you can't block, you can't run the right way, can't run the routes, can't, cut up the middle or find that open hole, you don't need the money.
You think running backs are more prima donna than wide receivers?
Dude, I have been with the biggest prima donna in arena football, and he is asking for more money than he's truly worth. Yes.
It's an interesting conversation, right? Because it's been proven time and time again, especially in the new passing era of the NFL, that you don't need to pay a running back. You just don't. You can find running backs. They're a dime a dozen. You can find undrafted ones. I mean, hell, look at the Chiefs situation. They spent a first-round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's not even their starting running back. Is he even their third-string running back? I don't even know. But, like, that's what I'm like. It's not worth it, number one, to pick a running back in the first round. It's not worth it. And number two, it's not worth it to pay them after their first contract. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is to fix that, but if you're a smart football team, you will not do it. You just won't do it.
I mean, I'll give you a solid example. Look at the Ravens. J.K. Dobbins was a guy that everybody was looking at coming out of college that was going to be the next biggest hoopla coming out of Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore a lot of comparisons like Alvin Kamara.
Exactly. And, the biggest name from Baltimore that was a running back, besides Ray Rice beating the crap out of his wife, was Jamal Lewis. Yes, Jamal Lewis was a murderer, but he ran for 2,000 yards in a season. The dude was a monster. Nobody could, match up with him when it came to anybody else who played for the Ravens. But they had a solid, I think it was like 2 or 3 running backs last season. They had Gus Edwards, they had J.K. Dobbins, and I think that might have been it. And then this year, I think they just picked somebody up. It's like an older guy. And I'm just like, all these running backs that want to play think they still have what it takes to play in these, big name teams. They really don't.
They've got some really good running backs on the roster behind Dobbins. They got Gus Edwards, Melvin Gordon, Justice Hill.
Who they just picked up.
Yeah, man, they've got definitely some talent in the running back room for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your opinion on it, Brad?
Well, I think that it's hard to say because I think, like, clearly from a business perspective, running back is one of those positions where they take the most punishment. They have to deal with uh, the most physical contact, and clearly that's going to be a situation where people are going to naturally decline faster. I completely agree with it. Um, I think one thing is like, and I know players are trying to clearly get their bag, and as they should, because they're the ones to putting their bodies on the line, and their future health on the line, etc. Um, to be quite honest, I would be looking more into like, how can you like instead of like get main salary, like how do you have like maybe like injury protection or additional insurance, or I don't know, like things that are gonna be able to make sure that that you are in fact cared for once this game is over because it's so violent. So I'm not sure what the answer is, man. Uh, Clearly, that it's a negotiation issue that is going to have to go between the owners and the players' union, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be something that's going to be one of the big bargaining chips that the players are going to try and get is some sort of increased minimum salary, for like per position,
Hmm.
um, and I think it's going to be something that's going to possibly benefit the players, but I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to be in. It's a tough position, and I don't know if we're ever going to get back to the point where this is a running back league again. I really don't. Um, when's the last time you remember a team with a dominant running back carrying them to the Super Bowl? I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah, yeah, and
It
if you
really
think about it,
has.
kind of transitioning into our next short segment is about reports coming out today that Joe
Mm.
Burrow was carted off the field down in Cincinnati in practice. Apparently, that he said all the video footage said that he was kind of grabbing his calf, the bottom of his leg. So they're hoping that nothing's torn and that he's not going to require any kind of surgery or rehab or anything like that. But um, I think that if and it's a big if because there's not many details about it right now. Um, what could this Joe Burrow even a possibility of injury affect the AFC
Mm.
picture
Mm.
at all?
Yeah, I mean, even if he only misses, 6 games or something, right? I mean, that could be big. You know, um, from everything I've heard it was some sort of strain or cramp or something, and therefore he probably just sits out the rest of the preseason, right? I mean, you probably don't see him again in training camp or in preseason or anything like that. And if it's just a strain, um, he's probably ready for the regular season, I would imagine. But sometimes they say that. Sometimes it's just a strain. It's just whatever until they go in and do more testing, and then they find something, right? So you know, I don't ever want to see anybody get hurt and have their season end or something like that for as a competitor. I mean, yeah, you want your team to win if you're a fan of a team, but you don't really want to get a cheap win, right? Because that doesn't feel right. I mean,
Would
of
you
course,
take a cheap win, TJ? Would you say
I'd take
think
a cheap win
that?
if it was. I'd take a cheap win if it was a Super Bowl win.
Yes. Super Bowl, I want that ring. I will take a cheap win, but
Yeah,
during the regular season, no.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want
It's not.
hard
I mean,
fought
it's really
wins.
not worth. What's the bragging rights in the regular season game to win? To
Well,
win.
again, exactly. Okay, okay. I think you kind of answered the way that I was going to answer anyway. That why wouldn't you take the cheap win if it's just a regular season game?
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, it's a good point, but what is it? I don't know. What does it gain you that home field advantage? Maybe, right? I don't
Hey,
know.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at that chance of hosting throughout the playoffs versus having to travel or go on the road versus like the 2 or 3 seed.
It's a good point. Like, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, you always want the win, and you always want every advantage you can get, but in the same breath, you don't want it to come at somebody's expense. I don't know if that makes sense,
that is a
but
true that is a fact.
yeah,
That is a fact.
you know,
Um, However, in addition to Joe Burrow's knee injury, Jalen Ramsey, it just
mm,
came out publicly today that he had another knee procedure
yeah,
or is going to have one,
going to, yeah,
and um, it's kind of a big deal. They said that he could be missing anywhere from like 2 to 3 months, And so if we're thinking the beginning of August, week 1 is first week of September. So we're looking into possibly half the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard it's at least 6, probably going to be at least 6 weeks, probably closer to 8. Now, I don't know if they go on the what is it, the IR when the season starts, that makes them out at least 4 weeks, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's probably what's going to happen here. He's probably going to start the season on
Put
the
him on the
IR.
pup. Put him on the pup.
Well, I see. What would be the difference on putting him on the pup versus
the pup? You have to wait till mid-season to come back, and then
I think it's
IR,
I think week 6 is the pup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
So-
that's a strong possibility. Then I could see that. If that's, I don't know. I mean, I think Jalen Ramsey is a damn good cornerback, but honestly, I haven't seen the same guy since he's left Jacksonville, and maybe that's just me, but he doesn't seem as dominant as he was in Jacksonville. I don't know. Could it be
Okay,
scheme?
so
I don't know.
Here's how the pup works: is that you can only be placed on the pup before the start of training camp.
Well, that ain't
You
gonna work in.
do count against the 90-man roster. However, they can come off the pup at any point during camp and practice immediately.
Yes.
However, if you're on it during the season, you do not count towards the roster limit. However, you would be it looks like you are to remain on the list for at least the first 4 weeks.
Well, see, they can't put him on the IR until the season starts, because if they put him on the IR now, he's done for the season.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
It's not?
No, remember, there's a designated for IR for return.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So they can go on IR, not count against the roster, and let's say they need like 6 to 8 weeks.
But you only have a few of those, right? You don't have an unlimited, right?
Yes. Teams are allowed to have 8 players return to the 53-man roster from IR starting the season.
Okay.
So from week 1 till the end of the season, you put a guy on IR, you can do it 8 times.
But I don't think they can put him on IR now until the season starts, though. I'm pretty
Correct.
sure if you get put on IR during training camp, you're done.
Yes.
Which is who was it recently just had their season in not too long ago during practice, man. Blew an knee out.
Just this year?
The Ravens long snapper.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yep, I saw that one.
Oof. Woof. I didn't think it was him, but hey, we'll call it good.
Yeah.
All right, we're rolling into the last few minutes of our show today because we're gonna end it pretty promptly at 9:30 in the Central Time zones. We're gonna discuss the following question that I've actually been kind of really looking forward to. That's been on our spreadsheet for a while, and
yeah, I've seen it there. You kind of threw it on me last minute here, so I didn't get a real big chance to think about it. But
no, that's okay. That's okay. I think like it's more like a little discussion. I mean, maybe it's things like you can change your mind as our discussion goes on.
okay.
So our question is, what would be your dream halftime Super Bowl halftime show?
Can I say this? I think it kind of depends on where it is.
So you're saying location, location, location.
Yes.
So if you had, let's just make it up, if like there was an Ultra Stadium in Hawaii and that's where the Super Bowl was, that would make a difference as to who you would have, or whether you're in Florida or Arizona, or
I don't think all locations would matter, but I think certain locations would. Like for instance, I think was that like 3 years ago when the Super Bowl was out in San Francisco, and there was no reason that Metallica shouldn't have been headlining that halftime show. No reason at all. Like that would have been huge out there for Metallica to be running the halftime show in the San Francisco halftime.
Oh,
and I think that was a huge missed opportunity.
It was the Broncos and Panthers were out in San Fran, right?
Is that the one? Okay, it was longer than I thought ago then. Okay.
That was because it was like the first or second year that Levi was open.
Okay.
They were like, yeah, we're gonna put a Super Bowl out there. I I will agree with you on that one. I feel like Metallica should have been there for the very first Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. Metallica should have done it.
So I mean, so that's like I think if you're talking about just strictly artists putting on a show, that's one thing. But if you're taking into consideration the venue as well, I think that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit.
Okay, so if let's say that we are hosting the Super Bowl in one of the cities that has hosted it many, 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 many times,
Okay.
New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty eclectic place,
Yeah.
pretty big melting pot of all kinds of different people and individuals. So,
Do you think it would be cool to have a mesh of artists rather than just one genre?
I feel like so. Okay, I don't know if this was going to come off with just pure stupidity. I feel like that'd be a little overwhelming. You know, if you let's. You know,
I'm asking. I don't know. To me, it wouldn't matter because I love all music. But
I'm with you on that one. But like, if you're like, okay, let's just say Rage Against the Machine. All right, they're out there. They're blasting some
that's a
great
little
music.
crazy, but okay.
Hey, you know what? You never know. There's some craziness that could happen in the NFL. Rage Against the Machine. All right, they come out there. They're killing it. And all of a sudden, out rolls Lady Gaga. Yeah, dude, you lost me. I'm done. I'm walking
or
away.
Reba.
Or Reba. I'm walking. No, wait, whoa. Reba could steal the show from that one.
my wife
no,
loves Reba.
It's kind of one of those things where like you want something to truly mesh. So if you're going something like hardcore like that, so like I'm gonna stick with Rage Against the Machine. You stick with something like that, then you know I'd probably see someone like like Eminem pops out. You know, Eminem does something with them, and then from Eminem, you go to like Jelly Roll, and then there you go, done.
See, now you do have those artists that you brought up a good point there. Like you do have those artists like Jelly Roll, and I can't. I mean, of course, I'm on the spot right now, so it's hard for me to think of a few others. But that do have the ability to cross genres. Post Malone, there's another one, right?
Oh yeah.
Like there are guys like that where if you do want to mesh it up, you could do something like that. I mean, Post Malone does some amazing covers of Nirvana. You wouldn't even believe it. But
Dude. So, and you know, if this is New Orleans, all right. If we're saying this is New Orleans, my number one. Honestly, it's going to sound really fun. I would go Green Day. I'd have Green Day out there.
Nice.
That's a good
that.
one.
Green Day, and then maybe just like pop up. Oh man, I'd love to see the Foo Fighters. Green Day and the Foo Fighters.
I love the Foo Fighters, but I mean, I'd feel bad at this point with the Foo Fighters because Taylor should be there, man.
Dude,
Well, I mean,
I agree, but Taylor's son is just like him. I see him.
Dude, I don't know why. I know why because he's only 14 years old or whatever. But he would have been amazing to fill in for Taylor. Oh my god, that was so cool when he came on and played at that show, the tribute show. But the drummer they got is a damn good drummer as well. So I don't know. It's tough when you see people leave bands and it just doesn't feel the same as much as they're playing the same stuff and whatever. It just never feels the same. It's weird.
I agree. All right,
I also agree with your assessment of Foo Fighters. I think that would be an amazing halftime show because they bring so much energy.
Yep.
And the thing is, like, every time you see them perform, like it's I don't know, man. It's just like this. It seems like it's this massive positive vibe that is just emanating from their music.
And if you've ever watched any of their shows, if they're in a town and they're in a town of an artist that's in that area, they will like almost always have to try to bring them out to the stage and do a song with them. So they're very good at collaborating with artists and doing one of their songs and stuff like that. Grohl would have to watch his language a little bit. He does seem to drop a few F-bombs when he's performing, but yeah, I don't know. I think somebody like Foo would be pretty fun, honestly.
It's funny you say that. So here in Annapolis, Dave Grohl actually has a rock school probably what 5 minutes down the road from us in Arnold Station.
Does he really?
Yes, and he's there all the time. He eats at the Point, which is 10 minutes down from me. I actually bumped into him a few months ago. Bumped into him, and he saw me wearing a Texas Longhorn T-shirt, and he looks at me. He goes, "We're gonna have." He's like, "There's a band down in Texas. I'm gonna go watch perform, and may have them open for us, on a tour or whatever." And I was like, "That would be awesome." So he likes those. He'll find a local band and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Their new drummer, Josh Freeze.
Yes.
He's actually a former drummer of one of my personal favorite bands, Perfect Circle.
Oh, okay.
They've I'll tell you what, if you dig any kind of like Tool music,
Yep.
that they're kind of like a kind of slightly softer, more refined, I think, version of that. And
Well, it's the same singer.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. So,
But yeah,
I
you're
would,
right. They're definitely a mellowed down Tool. Like it's
yeah. So however, I think definitely Metallica would be like close to the top for me for a if man, I'm not sure. Like I'm
It's
not sure
tough.
that it is tough.
So here's my question, and this is
I
something.
mean, at this point, I mean, if you're thinking about artists who have literally kind of changed the way that they perform and the way people go see, I mean, how can you not put Taylor Swift on there?
Jeez.
I
I'm
mean,
turning it off.
dude,
Sorry,
I
I'm
mean,
not
can you?
watching it.
I mean, imagine how many people would watch Taylor Swift on the halftime show just because it's a free Super Bowl concert.
Yeah.
Did they announce? They didn't announce the Super Bowl halftime yet, did they?
Not yet.
No.
I think
they usually do it before the season starts, don't they?
I think
Or
they
at
do
least
it.
it's usually pretty close to the beginning of the season, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I will say this: if we're looking, where's the Super Bowl being held this year?
Vegas?
Is it Vegas?
Yeah, it's Vegas.
Yep, it is Vegas.
So this is so. All right, so let's make a prediction on who's going to do it this year.
Oh, nice. Okay.
All right, and let's see who gets it. Now I've got a couple names in my head right now that could truly do it, but my thing is this: I don't think they're that mainstream yet to do it.
And
so my two picks are Sleep Token, because they are starting to become more of a edgier. I mean, they've really hit massive on TikTok, and then a lot of their stuff is starting to hit the radio now. And then Bad Omens. I feel like those two would be a good kind of like I feel like that'd be a great watch to have, because I've seen videos of their concerts. They're pretty good. I mean, they get a good viewing. But if I'm really going to stick it down, I honestly think Jelly Roll's got it this year. It's going to be a Jelly Roll because it's Vegas. He parties in Vegas all the time. It's got to be a Jelly Roll halftime show.
Do we do the all tattoo face halftime show and put Jelly Roll and Post Malone out there together?
Ooh, no. I don't think so.
The face tattoo halftime show.
I feel like the next time it's in Dallas, it's going to be Post Malone.
Being in Vegas, like, I think that you're definitely going to have some sort of,
showman.
Well, not just a showman. I think it's going to have to be like a little bit of West Coast flair, just because you're close. You're close to California, and so I think that they lean a little bit more towards like the hip hop or kind of whether it be rap performances. Well, and you can even say kind of like pop rap with some of the women. So like Ariana Grande, I think could be a possibility.
I'd shoot myself.
I think Taylor Swift is definitely a possibility. She's turned it down before, but I think it's definitely a possibility, especially with her popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even Miley Cyrus is as an act. Heck, even what's his name? Harry Styles. Again, he's a performer and a good, like flashy and can sing and dance, and so I think they're definitely going to look for somebody who is kind of not like a one-trick pony when it comes to music. I think it's gonna require them to be pretty versatile.
Do you think they're going to take somebody who's got a residency out of Vegas into the Super Bowl? And I'm going to give you a big name right now that everybody's been talking about, Shania Twain. Apparently, her new stuff is really taking off. So, would she be one that come out of her residency and do that, or Carrie Underwood? Those are the two biggest stars right now on the Vegas Strip.
I could see Carrie Underwood. I don't know that I'd say Shania Twain though, unless Shania Twain was like the the spice that's added to the Carrie Underwood show. You know what I mean?
I could see that.
Okay, here are the current residencies out in Vegas. So you've got Usher, Garth Brooks, Miranda Lambert, Maroon 5, Katy Perry, Kelly Clarkson, Adele, Luke Bryan, U2.
Didn't Maroon 5 already do it?
Maroon 5.
Maroon.
Oh no, they're still they're performing actually tomorrow and Saturday.
No, but I mean, didn't they already do Super Bowl?
They've already done a
Super
Bowl.
Yes, they have already done. Super Bowl.
Yeah, I thought so. Oops, my bad, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. So that probably rules them out.
Well, so here's the thing, though. The names that you just put out, Brad, majority of that is country music. Are we going to finally get a country music halftime show? Because after the Chris Stapleton national anthem, everybody's saying that.
That's not a bad call, TJ. To be and the thing is, I mean, who's the king of country? It's Garth Brooks.
Sir, no. You take that statement back?
I mean, who else outsells in? I mean, I'm sorry, man. I've been to some country shows with my wife, and man, Garth Brooks, it's hard to beat, dude.
George Strait.
Thank you.
Okay,
Troy, I'm gonna drive up to give you a high five.
Let's be real though. Okay, George, yeah, sure, he's the OG, but at the same time, how old is George Strait, man? Like 80 some?
Well, I don't think he's that old.
He's 68.
68.
Yeah, I was gonna say close to 70. Yeah.
That is the king.
But
yeah,
again,
I mean, Garth Brooks is definitely the name that resonates more with the younger crowd, I would say. I'm surprised, TJ, that you actually said George Strait.
I was born and raised with George Strait, man. That's the king.
I mean, I'm looking at this Las Vegas residency as well as you were there, Brad, and like, what about somebody like Keith Urban? Like, he's got a little bit of a pop turn to him as well, you know?
So, it's funny you say that. He did the when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, he did the Super Bowl. It was like the week 1. He came to Baltimore and did a live show for the NFL.
Oh, like the halftime show at the week 1 show.
Yes.
Like, okay, I got you. Yeah.
I went to it and they said the viewership for that was terrible.
Really?
Yes. Now I'm probably just because it was the Ravens. Nobody likes the Ravens. Cool, whatever. But I kind of agree with you. Keith Urban. Maybe if they do like a Keith Urban, Kenny Chesney, and then out pops Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
I'm in for that one.
All right, guys. Well, maybe we'll go ahead and table this topic and revisit it. Now we get a little time to kind of marinate and think about it, because I think there's some other acts that could definitely make this list very enjoyable.
I agree.
So again, I appreciate everybody coming into our Dads with Bacon show this evening. Even though Aaron was out, thanks for dealing with technical difficulties and just kind of getting through. You know, we're just a bunch of dads, a bunch of rookies over here. So we're just trying to carry the ship on our shoulders while people can't make it. So till next time, TJ, Troy, had a great night. Everybody take care. Till next Thursday. See you later.
See you guys.